Hello and welcome to News 6. I'm Tony Gershutz. Today's show is presented by Mrs. Holly Klaus's 6th grade class from New Riegel Elementary in New Riegel, Ohio. Today we will show you some unusual sports in our famous landmark. With our first story is Brandon to tell us about a sport that started in our area.
New Riegel is proud to have a tractor puller like Jim Hafer. Tractor pulling is an unusual sport, so Doug Depnet interviewed Mr. Hafer, who is probably the best in this area.
How did you get started?
Well, about 1970 or 1971, we went to just a short ways from here to a tractor pull, and we took one of our farm tractors over and just kind of mildly hooked onto the sled and found out what it was all about. Well, at that time we found out that there was more to it than just taking the tractor out of the field and going over and hooking on to the weight transfer machine and going down the track. It takes quite a lot more horsepower than what a farm tractor just normally than what you farm with.
How is the competition judged?
In my particular weight class, I pull super stock, and we run the 75 and the 9,500 pound class. We're hooking it on, and the person that pulls the weight transfer the furthest in that class is the winner.
What was the most exciting time for you?
Well, I think probably the biggest excitement was it happened right in the state of Ohio. We pull all over the country, but the biggest pull in the nation is held probably 40-45 miles from here at Bowling Green. And last year would have been in 83. We won the 7,500 pound class at Bowling Green, and the next night we ended up in fifth in the 9,500 class, which is pretty hard to do because there was 40 tractors in the class.
Mr. Hafer and his brother go to all the regional pulls and usually bring home a trophy. Another unusual sport is karate. Here's Joe to tell us about it.
Sporting karate was started in Japan in World War II. This sport awards belts for different levels of learning. Mr. Donald Gershutz of New Riegel has the highest belt, the black belt. Henry Gershutz talked to him about his training.
I was a little afraid of getting a black belt because everyone told me that I had to register when I got back to the States. So I kept turning the black belt down. I didn't want it. And I kept turning it down. And when I was at championship matches in Tokyo, they have a lower division where just the little guys free play for one day and then the big boys do it the next day. And I won the lower division at Tokyo. And they had a great big meeting and they were all upset about it. And the instructor come back and he said that if I didn't accept the black belt that I couldn't come back to the classes.
Did it take you a long time to learn karate?
Yes, it took me about 3 years. When I was in Japan, I started lifting weights. I wanted to stay in shape because I was getting a little bit out of shape. And when I went down to the gym, one of the guys was telling me about a little guy over there that was real fast. And I was always pretty quick, so I didn't think too much of it, you know. And then one night I was down there and I saw this little guy, and he was really quick. So I inquired and I started taking lessons then. And it took quite a while till we learned the forms and stuff. And we were going pretty good under this instructor, and then one of the guys came and he said that they have a real good instructor in Tokyo with a different style of karate. And he wanted us to bring one of those instructors down. So we wrote a letter to Tokyo, and they sent a man down. And this man was Mr. Hitoshi Akiyama, and he was the only man in Japan history to win the championship 3 years in a row. No one else has ever done it 3 years in a row. And he came down, and he was really impressed with a couple of the boys we had there when he free played them, and he said that he would come down and teach us.
We would like to thank Mr. Gershutz for coming to our school and demonstrating karate for us. Another special person in our community has a famous restaurant known nationwide. Brian has the story.
In New Riegel, there is a cafe, and it serves some of the best ribs and chicken in the world. We know because we ate there. Kim Steyer talked to Mr. Bos about his famous ribs.
How did you begin cooking your special ribs and chicken?
Well, I used to be in the building business, and we had bought this here, and they had the intentions of coming over and starting Spanish spaghetti, which is something different. And this fellow that was going to come do the painting here says, I'll come over and do the painting if you come and put a room on for me. So we went to Sandusky, we'll put it up on a Sunday afternoon, and he had give us barbecue chicken. I said, well, that's it. I'm going to do that.
What makes your ribs and chicken so famous?
We try to put out a good product, give them plenty to eat, and that's, the parents bring the children, the parents pass on, and all at once, why, the children, they're growing up and they're bringing their children. So if the kids like it, why, they, rather than going to some hamburger place, they'd rather come out here.
Where did you get the recipe for your sauce?
I made it by taste. For over a year, I kept just making the sauce by taste. And I found out I was spending too much time just tasting. So I started keeping track of the ingredients that I put in. That's how we come up with it. It's pretty hard, I mean, because seasoning is not always the same. I mean, onions are different sometimes, your spices are different. They just don't grow the same. And that might change sometimes a little bit. Other than that, we try to keep it it's not cheapened or nothing like that. We just keep on and putting the same things in all the time.
Do a lot of people come here to eat?
Well, on Father's Day, Mama wants to take Papa out, why they come out to eat, but not near as many as when Papa wants to take Mama out. We served 993 meals Father's Day in '84, and this year, on Mother's Day, we served 1,394. We run through around 4,000 meals a week here in our little town with 300 people. Of course, they come from all over to eat here.
We would like to thank Mr. Bos for treating our whole class to his delicious ribs. Mr. Bos is important to our community, but there are more important people at Riverfront Manor. Jenny explains.
Our 6th grade class goes to Riverfront Manor once a month to visit our pen pals. Our pen pals are the residents of Riverfront. We have a lot of fun because we are like family. They tell us jokes, and the nurses say that it's a good feeling. Also, they discuss what they've been doing during the holidays. We do different projects. This Christmas, we exchanged gifts, sang Christmas carols, and made ornaments for the Christmas trees. They had fun, and we did too, and that's a good feeling to share. Thank you for joining us. Be here next week when students from St. John's Lutheran Elementary School in Napoleon, Ohio will present News 6. Have a nice week.